Man, it's been a while. Let's talk about it.
Another day, the concrete lessons taught, hard truths I gained from battles fought. Yeah, this that OG dad wisdom on the track, spitting knowledge, ain't no turning back. We going off the record, let the realness show, planting seeds so the next generation grows. Off the record, yeah.
Welcome back to the OG Dad Off the Record podcast. I'm your host, the OG Dad himself, and you have just tuned into another great episode. So I hope everybody's doing all right. It's been a while. My last episode went out in February. It is now May. I've been busy. To start, I have a 2-year-old officially. She turned 2 back in March. That's how long it's been. 2 going on 20, just running around, screaming, shouting, crying, laughing, and doing what 2-year-olds do. I assume she's doing what 2-year-olds do. I don't actually know what 2-year-olds do, but I have a 2-year-old, so I assume she does. Anyways, welcome back to the show. It's been a while, and I missed this. I miss doing this. I miss being on this platform. I miss just kind of pouring myself out, to you all and talking about some of the things that go on in my day to day. And not so much. To start, my job is going really well. I've shot a couple projects. I have one big project coming up, technically two, that I'm really excited about, that I can't wait to put out. I gotta say, I work in the nonprofit industry, and I've been kind of blessed with this opportunity to really pour into something that I only dreamed about doing. And, the fact that I kind of get paid to, well, I don't kind of get paid. I get paid to, produce content and be creative and, come up with things to kind of spread our message, is really, meaningful to me. And, I'm fiercely protective of that. And, I'm constantly, trying to innovate and come up with new things that's going to work for us and, continue to kind of spread our message and, talk about, who we are in the 21st century. Prior to me making the transition, I don't want to say it was non-existent, but it doesn't have the foothold it has now. And I'm really proud of the work that myself and my colleague have been able to come up with, over this, I don't know, last year, it feels like, but certainly in the last few months, we've put out some really good stuff. And, I'm just going to continue to stick by it and, continue to do that, until one day, I probably won't. And, that's fine. But, I'm saying all that to say, I've just been busy. I'm busy. I'm busy working. I'm busy raising, a 2-year-old. I'm busy, trying to be the best husband I can be. My wife and I, we recently celebrated our third anniversary. We got married back in 23. And, we have a photo shoot coming up. I'm excited about that. I'm excited about, going to North Carolina next month. I've just had a lot of things going for me, and not to say it's been hard. I've just been lazy, and, really finding that motivation to kind of pick up and, do this extracurricular thing that I'm not getting paid for and that I'm not really taking serious, because that's my problem. I'm not taking it serious. It's been hard to do, and, trying to balance, all the things, has proven very difficult. But, I'm back today. I know I made a promise at the beginning of the year, and I didn't uphold my end of the bargain, but, I still wanted to come here, and my platform is still here. It's still mine. I can post it whenever. The fact that people were kind of asking me, like, when's the next one coming? When's the next one coming? I felt like I let those people down. And, I just, one day, it just clicked, and I said, man, I really miss it. And, it's been hard to come back to it. And it's really been difficult to, put the camera on record and mic myself up and get the set going and all that stuff. But I wanted to just kind of, test the waters again and put myself back out there. And like, I'm still here, still being dad. The little one is doing great. She's, her birthday, like I said, passed, back in March. She is an exceptional human being. And I know she'll be great when she's ready to step up to the table and carve her own way and give her own message out. And I'm envious of that, of her youth, right? I'm not envious of her, envious of that youth, just wishing that I pushed myself a little bit harder, when it came to doing stuff like this or just doing whatever. Because, at the end of the day, I can still do those things at nearly 40 years old. But, it's just like, man, she's got time on her side. And I'm like, I gotta like scramble. So, just kind of seeing that and, motivating her to do those things. And she recently took ballet, which I went to I think it was the trial class. I was not a fan of it, and it was very apparent to me when she was in that class and and I realized, I was like, I don't know if she's ready for ballet just yet, but she certainly had a lot of fun dancing to Moana. So, let's kind of hone in on, what she's really looking to do. So we've been trying these different things. We did ballet. She's been in swimming. As a matter of fact, tomorrow she starts soccer, or at least a trial class for soccer. So, we'll see how that goes. There's some other classes on the table that we're also looking at. So hopefully one of these things will stick and we'll find the thing that she wants to do. And, we can suggest a lot of things and sign her up for things. And, ultimately she's got to be interested. She's got to want to do it. And, there's no point in doing it if she doesn't want to do it. But we'll continue to encourage and kind of, I don't want to say push, but, just reinforce, some of those activities that, a lot of kids do and a lot of people do. And, hopefully with exposure to it, if some of those things don't work out, then, she'll find the thing that she wants to do, which is, ultimately, I think the end goal is just making sure we're setting up our children for their thing. And I want to make sure she finds her thing. And it took years for me to figure it out. And I've kind of figured it out, kind of, sort of. I'm still undecided. And it's funny. This is a real conversation I had with my dad. He goes, "Oh yeah, talk to your uncle, and he talks about you so much, and da 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 da." And he mentions, uh, Cedric, he likes to do a lot of, he liked to do a lot of things, but he would be shy to kind of jump in. And I realized as he was saying that, I was like, man, he's kind of dead on there. Like I am fearful of taking the leap. I am super fearful of that. So when faced with something like, I'm sorry, I don't know why I did that. When faced with something like parenthood, I don't know why I didn't have that same notion. I kind of dove in, not really understanding the magnitude of it. Not to say that my daughter is an accident, because she's not. But just agreeing to something and not really fully understanding what it meant. And these last few months really kind of hammered the idea of what it meant to be a father and having the patience and, you know, knowing when the moment is about teaching and not necessarily about disciplining. You know, we've kind of sort of lightly introduced, you know, timeout. It's like a chair that like looks at a bathroom or something. It's just a random chair in a hallway. That's honestly that's what all it is. But it's 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 you know, we gotta like leverage the chair versus, you know, versus her like doing something or not doing something. And I'm like, hey, like, you know, we don't want to go sit in the chair. Like, let's clean up. Let's take a moment. And I realize, you know, it all can't be punishment. Sometimes it's just about lesson learning. And, you know, I'm taking those moments and, you know, instead of, well, if you don't do this, then this is going to happen. You know, we have a very brief conversation about, you know, why this is safe or why this is unsafe versus if you don't do that, then this is going to happen. Just because we want to teach her to like, hey, things are okay when they're safe. And, you know, you have to be careful sometimes. And I think that it's been kind of a fine needle to thread because, you know, she has her moments to where she's kind of throwing tantrums and, you know, you get very overwhelmed by that. But you know, I think you know, the way we're kind of learning and doing it now is just you, hey, you need to sit and have a conversation with her. Despite how old she is, it doesn't matter. She understands those things. And you know, a 2-year old can understand you. So, you know, you can have a conversation and stuff like that. And it makes sense to her because, and you know, it may mean nothing to her in the moment, but if you continue to reinforce and re-encourage that idea, then, you know, I think as, you know, parents, and, you know, I think we just have that ultimate goal of being a good parent and we want to make sure that, you know, we're doing the right thing when it comes to having those conversations with our little ones. So, you know, when it came to just, you know, like whatever it is, you just got to have those conversations and you just got to talk to them and you got to reinforce the idea that, hey, we're going to talk about this and we're going to talk about why it's a bad thing instead of like you did a bad thing, so you go in the corner. So like I said, we've introduced, you know, timeout as a potential quote unquote punishment, but most of the time she doesn't get punished. Most of the time it's a conversation on why this isn't safe. And you know, there was one day, actually like the other day, where she like, you know, she put something in her mouth. It was like a toy small enough for her to seriously like harm herself. And my immediate reaction as a protector was to like, you know, I kind of came down on her. I came down on her pretty hard, like, you know, spit that out, da 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 da. And you know, she cried immediately right afterwards, and I felt so bad. I broke down and I embraced her, and like I was wrong, but that I was afraid. I was afraid that she was gonna harm herself. And you know, right after that moment, we had a conversation, and I apologized. And you know, I was scared though. I was really scared that she was gonna choke. And you know, kids are gonna do that, and you know, it's up to us to make sure that the ramifications of things like that happening, you know, are addressed and, you know, not being punished for it, because in her mind she's not doing anything wrong. She's not a bad kid. um and you know, in my eyes, I'm protecting her and trying to keep her safe. In her eyes, I just told her not to do something and now she's in trouble. So, you know, it's a humbling moment because like I said, I came down on her hard, and she just broke down, and I immediately had to snap out of it because just looking into her eyes, I realized like that scared her. She was scared of me in that moment. But I was scared for her, that she was going to choke. And, I had to step back, and, I told my wife about it later, and she goes, you were just trying to protect her and stuff like that. And like, I was really afraid. I was really afraid when that happened, and it happened for a split second. And, I feel like I have PTSD from it, but like that really like affected me in a way that stuck, because now, I have to be wary of those things. It's interesting how that works, because when she was, a much smaller baby, she didn't do any. She didn't pick up toys and try to eat them and, do things like that. It's only now when, she has this mobility and she knows what things are that she'll try and push the line. And again, it's not out of what's the word? Like out of rebellion. She's literally just trying stuff out. And she doesn't see anything wrong with that. And there's nothing wrong with that, but us as protectors, we have to make sure that we're being safe about it. So that's what I've been up to. Yeah, I mean, it's really been, a lot of this, just being dad and, trying to be a good husband and trying to be a good employee. But anyways, you all be good, and thank you for showing up every day. OG Dad signing off. Peace.
Another day, the concrete lessons taught, hard truths I gained from battles fought. Yeah, this that OG Dad that step into the mic, spitting straight wisdom for the world tonight. We going off the record, let the realness show, planting seeds so the next generation grows. Yeah, showing that we care. Off the record, yeah, yeah.